Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever wondered why a certain old song can instantly make you happy? Or why you reflexively reach for your phone the second you hear that specific notification sound? Well, it turns out a massive part of what we do every single day isn't some deep-seated instinct, it's learned. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. So that really brings us to the big question, right? Why do we learn to do these things? How does a simple sound become this powerful trigger, or a tiny reward completely change a habit we've had for years? Well, the answers are all wrapped up in what psychologists call the behavioral approach. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the main idea behind learning through our actions. Then, we'll get into the two heavy hitters, learning by association and learning from consequences. And finally, and this is my favorite part, we'll see how this stuff is literally all around you in your daily life. Okay, let's get right to it. We're starting with the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about, the core idea of behaviorism. So, what in the world is the behavioral approach? Well, think of it this way. Instead of trying to be mind readers and guess what's happening inside our heads, our thoughts, our feelings, behaviorists decided to keep it simple. They focus only on the actions they can actually see and measure. Basically, if you can't observe it, it's not part of the equation. And this whole approach is built on four key beliefs. First, that we learn pretty much everything from our surroundings. Second, as we just said, the focus is on what we can see. Third is this really big idea that we all start out as a blank slate, that our habits aren't just born in us. And finally, and this is crucial, we are all constantly being shaped by rewards and punishments. Okay, so if we learn from our environment, how does that actually happen? Well, one of the first huge breakthroughs came from a process called learning by association, which was famously figured out by Ivan Pavlov and, his dogs. This process is called classical conditioning. At its heart, it's a really powerful way we learn by linking two different things together in our minds. Over time, one of those things starts to cause an automatic, knee-jerk reaction that it never ever did before. It's all about creating a brand new connection in the brain. So here's how Pavlov's famous experiment actually worked. Let's break it down. Before anything happens, you've got a natural reflex, right? Food, the unconditioned stimulus, makes a dog drool. That's the unconditioned response. Simple enough. Now, during the conditioning phase, Pavlov started ringing a bell, a totally neutral sound, right before he brought out the food. And we did this over and over. And then, after a while, magic. The bell alone, which is now a conditioned stimulus, was enough to make the dog drool. And that drool is now a conditioned response. A sound that meant nothing before now meant everything.
But, we're not just learning by connecting two random things. We also learn from the results of what we do. And this brings us to the second massive pillar of behaviorism, learning from consequences, a concept really championed by B.F. Skinner. And this is called operant conditioning. Now, unlike those automatic reactions in classical conditioning, this is all about our voluntary actions, the choices we make. The idea is incredibly simple. If you do something and a good thing happens, you're probably going to do it again. If you do something and a bad thing happens, you're probably going to stop. Okay, let's break this chart down because the names can be a little confusing. Positive and negative here don't mean good and bad. Just think of them as adding something or taking away something. So if you want to increase a behavior, you use reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is adding something good, like giving a dog a treat when it sits. Negative reinforcement is removing something bad, like how your car stops that awful beeping noise once you finally buckle your seatbelt. See? Both make you more likely to do the behavior. Now, to decrease a behavior, you use punishment. Positive punishment is adding something bad, like scolding a pet. And negative punishment is removing something good, like, you guessed it, taking away a teenager's phone. But it's not quite that easy. It's not just if you get a reward that matters, it's when you get it and how often. The timing of it all, the schedule, is actually unbelievably important for shaping what we do. And these schedules make a huge difference. A fixed ratio is like getting paid for every 5 boxes you pack. A fixed interval is just getting your paycheck every Friday. They're predictable. But the really, really powerful schedules are the unpredictable ones. That variable ratio schedule, getting a reward after a random number of tries, that is the engine that drives every slot machine in Vegas and every social media feed on your phone. Because you never know if the next pull of the lever or the next refresh is going to be the one. You just keep going. It's incredibly addictive. So let's just put these side by side real quick to make it super clear.
Classical conditioning is all about an involuntary, automatic link being formed. The dog isn't choosing to drool. Operant conditioning, on the other hand, is about a voluntary action and what happens after. The dog is choosing to sit because it knows a treat is coming. One is association, the other is action and consequence. That's the main difference. Okay, so this is all fascinating theory, right? But where does this stuff actually show up outside of a psychology lab? Well, let's take a look at how these exact same ideas are shaping the world around you every single day. Just think about advertising. Why do they always pair a new car with a hit song or a famous, beloved actor? That's pure classical conditioning. They want you to take the good feelings you have for that song or that celebrity and associate them with their product. Before you know it, you feel good about the product too. What about in school? That's operant conditioning all over the place. When a teacher hands out gold stars for good work or gives extra recess time for a quiet classroom, they're using positive reinforcement. They're trying to increase the chances that those good behaviors will happen again. And it doesn't stop when we grow up. This follows us right into the workplace. Think about sales bonuses, Employee of the Month awards, or even just a simple, hey, great job on that project from your boss. These are all forms of reinforcement designed to motivate us to do our best work. And maybe the most powerful application of all is in therapy. These exact same principles are used to help people do incredible things, like systematically overcome phobias, break the painful cycle of addiction, or build new, healthier habits. It's behaviorism in action, helping people genuinely change their lives for the better. So, when you boil it all down, what's the big picture here? It's that a huge, huge chunk of who we are and what we do is learned. Whether it's through those automatic connections our brain makes with classical conditioning, or the choices we make based on rewards and punishment with operant conditioning, these forces are always at play, quietly shaping our habits, our decisions, our entire lives. And that leaves us with one last, and I think pretty empowering thought. If so much of our behavior is learned from the world around us, well, then what do you want to learn next? What old habit do you want to unlearn? The tools to actually do it are right there in front of you.